Hello and welcome. I'd like to share with you some information about creating a supplemental warp. What is it? How can you use it? These are just some basics. I've done a few of them. I'd like to share some information that I've learned. So perhaps you might have a better understanding of what a supplemental warp is and what you might be able to do with it. I moved the beater out of the way. Like I said, I've already thread the loom. I've tested it. Everything's working fine. So I just want to explain a little bit what I did. The yarn that you see, the dark yarn, is the heavier cotton. I'm setting it at 10 ends per inch. It's kind of like that cotton clouds. Here you can see it on my shuttle. That's what I'm weaving with as well. So what I literally did, if you don't look at the purple here, pretend the heavier yarn is not here. I warped the loom, and I used only shafts 1 and 2. So if I press on number 1, you're going to see, I don't know if you can see or not, it's only the cotton. It's not under tension right now. This is shaft 1 going up. And then if I do 2, only shaft 2 is going up. Okay, so I did 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But what I did was, in my planning, I planned ahead and put in what we call empty heddles. So if I press on 3, you will see that these colors come up. And if you can just barely see here, let me move it over a little bit where we can see it. Now I did put some extra heddles in, but I'm going to show you this on a paper in a minute. This is 3. Now I only have the purple ones are coming up. And if I go 4, I said the lavender and this dark purple. Then if I press on the other color, on the other one, 4, only the dark purple here, those come up. Now, why am I doing it that way? Again, this is a basic explanation. Might be a little confusing for some of you, but I'm going to try to walk you through it. So that was what I did there, and what I was using was these. This is the supplemental warp, the warp that I added later. So the purple, the wool, this is cotton, the wool I added later on. So all of these colors were not part of the original winding on your warp. There are many different ways of doing this. This is one way that I did it, wound on the one, and then I added the color. So I'll show you a little bit more. I'm going to show you how what the arrangement is, and also how I tied it on. We're looking at the back of the loom. And you can see the little groups. So maybe we're starting to put the whole puzzle together here. Maybe not. Here we have the groups. I have little chains of the colors together here. And I'm using, my husband has a workshop in the basement. So lucky for me, I can go downstairs and find all sorts of gadgets to use as weights. I also use those when I am doing, if I have a broken thread or I forgot a thread, I will often use these clamps. So those are there, and as you can see they go through, and they are extra. That's the supplemental part. So you can add them in different places. The biggest thing to remember, though, is if you're going to thread this ahead of time and add them later, you need to know where you're going to space those empty heddles. Now, one trick is just to put one in every other one. So you could put 1, 2, and then put 3, 4 without putting anything in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is actually what I did to start to do the designing, but I ran out of 3, 4, so I had to kind of change my plan. So here we are. Like I said, I already did some weaving. What I did was I did thread those in afterwards. I'm going to show you the paper that I used to do this. And then I literally did tie all of those together. So you can see here, I moved it up so you could see what I did. And this is what I started weaving with. Now let's take a look at one of the papers that I have. And what this is an explanation of how I threaded the loom before I added the colors. What I did was 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I did it farther than that. You can see I did maybe a couple of inches. Then what I did, when I got to this one, I pulled a heddle over, number 3. Did not put any yarn in it, just slid it over. Then I went 1, 2, and I moved the 4 over. Did not, it's called an empty heddle. 1, 2, 3 again. These are representing empty heddles. So that's what I did across. Now this arrangement here is representing only this section right now. And you can do whatever you want with it. So that's representing that section. Now, then I came back and I literally took one of this is pink, but it represents this color here. What I did was, on the other, I measured out all of these colors. The warp is about a 4.5 yard warp. So I measured out about 5 yards because your supplemental warp is going to use up more yarn as you're weaving. So whatever you're going to do for the supplemental, it's going to be a little bit longer. So I cut out pieces, or I cut pieces up about 5 yards long, and I cut out as many as I needed here. It's kind of hard to see the dark color, but it is in here. That's why I eliminated it here. That was my original design. Again, this is representing what I did here. All right, so what I did, like I said, I had the yarn, I put the yarn in groups on the other side, and then I threaded each one. So I would, for example, the light purple here was on the, let me move this ahead a little bit so we can see a little bit better. So as I did before, if I press on 3, well, it's not under enough tension here. All right, so right now the lighter ones are coming up and the dark purple, because those were the ones that were in 3. And if I go to 4, lower that down. If I go to 4, then the 4 and the 4 are showing up. That's how that's happening on that. I didn't, excuse me, I wasn't, let's just look at this one. Just this one here. The dark ones in the middle are coming up, the 4. All right? Again, a little hard to explain, but I will put some of these papers, I'll put them at the end with a little bit. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow a treadling sequence. I already did a tabby to begin with, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm literally going to start right here. And what I'm going to be doing is stepping on treadle 1, which is lifting one of the tabbies, and 3, which is lifting one of the colored yarn. Then I'm going to do the other tabby, 2 and 3. I'm going to keep that up again because I want this to show up for a little bit. I do that, I'm going to do it back and forth 4 times. Then I'm just going to do the 4, that's the other color, 1 time. And this is what I'm looking for, this kind of an effect. Guess this is only one section. That's this section here and this section on this side. So let's see how it goes. And I'm going to go slow, 1 and 3. Go across. Whoops, I got one stuck there. And I'm going to keep 1, I'm going to keep 3 down and go to 2, across. I'm just going to keep the treadle up for 3, 1 again, and 3. Now this time I'm going to go 1, and I'm going to lift 4. All right, let me 4, make sure those are down. So it'll be 1, and then 2. And I'm going to go back again, 1 and 3. Like I said, I'm getting that sticky in there. 2 and 3. 1 and 3. And 2 and 3. Now I'm going to do the 4. 1 and 4. And 2 and 4. So I'm going to continue with that, and I will get this pattern that will be continuing. And guess what? On the other side, it's the opposite, because what's happening is the 1 is going up and the 1 is staying down. So you're weaving over top of that. Again, if you're using some sticky yarn of some kind, or again, you're having 2 threads in one of the slots in the reed, it could be a little tricky. So you have to kind of take your time. And that's the basic structure of how a supplemental warp works. and I'll just advance it and keep on going as until I get to the end. Now with the weights on the other side, the clamps, yeah, I do have to adjust those every once in a while. So while I'm sitting here, I'm looking across, I can kind of go, uh-oh, the clamp's coming up over the top. So I'm going to go back over so you can see the top of the shafts now, and so we can see what's happening, and do it again with that and advance it a little bit here. And now this time I'm going to do it the same pattern again. 1, that's the 1, and then the 3. So right now I have 1 and 3. You can see them back there. And the only thing I have to change now, because I'm doing tabby 2, because I said all of these are on 1 and 2. I'm going to go back again. Here we go again this way. Now I'm going to do 1 again, but this time 4. Make sure that sticks down there. So I'm going to do 1. Just going to keep my other foot up, and 2. So I can continue with this pattern. And this is going to, I think I might have said before, if not, this is fabric for a tote. This will be washed, shrink it up, see what happens with the wool, and sew it up for a nice little tote.